The METUS Tech Show.
Welcome to the METUS Tech Show, a show for HVAC professionals by HVAC professionals.
The METUS Tech Show.
So Marisa, thanks for being here. And when we were talking on the phone, I invited you on, and I said we talk about food, and I did, at the risk of sounding sexist, I did say you can't talk about salad.
Right.
So you're not going to talk about salad.
I did have an amazing salad today, but I will not talk about salad.
Amazing and salad are two words that don't go together. All right?
Yeah.
All right. So you want to talk about pizza?
I want to talk about pizza.
So tell me about your pizza experience.
I have a passion for pizza. It's one of my absolute favorite foods. I could eat it truly all the time. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you wouldn't expect it, but there's actually amazing pizza in Cincinnati, Ohio. And
so there, Paul.
I don't believe that. If it's anything like their chili, I don't believe it, but that's okay.
No. I really like I love that there's so many different types of pizza, and all the different types, from the Lunchables pizza all the way up to the, you're in Italy, super high-end pizza. I could eat everything in between all the time.
So where's the best pizza you've ever had? What city?
Oh, that is tricky. I mean, I will say I live in New York City now. I live in Brooklyn. And there's so much great cheap pizza around that is probably, I do have to put it, it's not a controversial opinion, but I have to put that at the top of the list.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's like people always say New York pizza, Chicago pizza, and I would say they're two different foods.
Two totally different
apples
foods.
and oranges.
Yeah.
Okay, now, again, I'm probably going to sound sexist again, but you don't like arugula and fig on your pizza, do you? Just you want meat on it, don't you?
I like arugula and fig in my salads, funnily.
Okay, all right, forget that.
Here we go.
But
There you
back to
go.
pizza. No, I don't like them on my pizza.
I've actually heard Cincinnati has really good salad.
They've got great.
Stop talking about salad.
They've got great salad. That's true.
All right, now, thick crust or thin crust?
I like a thick crust. More carbs, the better for me, honestly.
Okay, I agree. And what's your favorite topping?
Ooh, I think I'm a margarita girl, honestly. So just a really good, simple sauce. Ideally, not a cooked tomato. And then really good mozzarella cheese.
Oh, yeah, I could go with that.
Yeah.
I do like my meat lovers, but I like to change it up. But we were talking before we came on the air that the great thing about pizza is you could have pizza every day and it's going to be like a different meal. It's not, you're not going to get sick of it, because you could have meat lovers one day. I suppose you could get a vegetarian pizza if you wanted it, vegetable pizza. You could get that. You could get thin crust, thick crust, flatbread, which I don't really consider pizza. My son likes, and it drives me crazy, he likes barbecue chicken pizza.
Oh, no.
It doesn't have sauce on it. It's barbecue sauce, and it's chicken. I don't like it. It's not pizza. I have one more. It's a very controversial question.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know where I'm going with this, don't you? Do you like pineapple on your pizza?
I do.
Yes.
I think it tastes fantastic. I
He's
don't
definitely
know.
outnumbered
The
on
salty, sweet, especially if you add some pepper flake, I feel like it goes really well,
I can't
honestly.
stand it. Well, thank you for joining us. It was nice talking to you.
And by the way, thin crust is my go-to.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind.
Because I like the
both.
crunchy crust.
The kind of cracker pizza.
Yes.
I can get behind that, but I prefer thick crust.
The thick crust.
Yeah.
For me, it depends what mood I'm in. I could eat thin crust and thick crust. It's different foods, They're both good. I like them both. I couldn't pick one. I like just pizza in general.
Paul, do you eat white pizzas?
I have. I mean, I like when I cook pizza on the grill, I'll throw a dough on there and I'll put nothing on it but olive oil and garlic. Okay. It's like a garlic bread.
Sure.
But I think pizza, to me, in my mind, pizza needs a red sauce on it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it just does.
Yeah, I agree.
I was going to say, it'd be worth trying the pineapple on a white pizza.
No,
because
it
it's
would
like
not.
a whole different profile. It's so good. I like it on red too,
Interesting,
but I like
yeah.
it on the white.
I
Even
haven't tried
Alfredo.
that. Yeah.
But I'd rather have fresh pineapple than the canned pineapple
Oh, I don't care.
on the pizza.
I don't care about that.
I'll take them both, but I'd rather have fresh.
I'm going to go home. I'm going to make a pizza on the grill. I'm going to put pineapple on it, and then I'm going to throw the whole thing in the trash.
Pizza on the grill is a great way to make
That's
pizza.
my favorite way to do it.
Yeah.
The kids like it too.
Yeah.
Anyway, Marisa, thank you for joining us. Now, you are the co-founder of a company called Conduit Tech. Tell us a little bit about how this company came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I studied computer science and then afterwards started my career in private equity. So I was actually working as a young investor. And it was a typical private equity firm engaging in a lot of roll-up activity. So a lot of what you see in the world of HVAC today. And I got to sort of experience the world of home services from very much an outsider's perspective. But what I started to realize was that I really liked this industry. There's so much importance in this industry from a human health perspective, from a position in the economy, from a growth perspective, and then also from an energy perspective. And so this was now about 8 years ago. I started to really focus in on, I like this part of the world, but really had no skills to contribute to this part of the world. So I went to business school, was trying to understand how can I use my interest in entrepreneurship, my background in computer science, my interest in some of my connections in the field of home services to see how I can contribute. And I was lucky enough in business school to meet my co-founder, Shelby. We were friends. We both were really interested in HVAC. And we decided, we don't know very much about this field. We just know that we want to understand how can we support this field, especially we've heard so much about a labor shortage. We've heard so much about changing regulation. Let's see if there's anything we can do to support. So we actually did about 1.5 years of cold calling and ride-alongs and just trying to learn, going out, telling people we're students. We're just here to observe. If you'll let us hop in your truck and buy you lunch later in the day, we'd love to just learn about your job. And so we did that for quite a while, just learning. And it was out of that 1.5 years of research that the idea for Conduit came about. And what we saw in those ride-alongs is that it's such a complicated job. It's funny because on the very first ride-along I went on, I was with a project manager who told me this isn't rocket science. And then over the course of the 2 hours that he was in the home, I was convinced, no, this is rocket science.
Very much so.
There's so much that you have to pay attention to.
Yes.
The homeowner's body language, the homeowner's constraints, the physical constraints of the house, and then all of the technical complexity, all of the regulatory complexity of this job. And I was just baffled that one person was responsible for all of that in effectively 2 hours, probably less than that, frankly, in the home.
And the thing about that is you don't learn that. They don't teach you that in trade school.
Absolutely. It's really such a difficult set of skills.
Yes.
So many different skills that come together in such a short period of time with a labor shortage, with changing regulation. And so that was really where we started to decide, that's so much work. The on-site sales process is so much work. What can we do to support that? And so that was where we started to go really deep. We started to understand what are the elements of that workflow. System design was kind of one of the number one areas that we started to identify as this is a great way to deliver on the promise of energy efficiency, to stand out on site. Right now, that work is happening out of the home, but it is a really great way to show the homeowner your value, to show them your craftsmanship. So that was kind of the initial insight where we started building Conduit. We started off just on load calculations, but we've built a lot into the world of sales enablement as well. So 3D visuals of the home, showing equipment placement using augmented reality, getting down to CFM calculations on a room by room basis. We've gotten kind of quite far down the path of also having, a really solid ACA certified load. But then on top of that, sales enablement feature is to stand out in front of that homeowner.
Wow. And by the way, we did invite your co-founder, Shelby, on the show, but she said, I am not going on with those morons. Those guys just talk about food. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm just kidding. She's actually occupied. She's busy somewhere else.
She is busy.
So she's got other commitments.
She does have other commitments. I know she would have loved to be here today. We haven't managed to do a podcast together. We both have been on a number of different podcasts. She's been on quite a few actually at this point, but we haven't managed to align our schedules at this point.
Well, maybe next time we can get you both in.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay. So Conduit Tech is an on-site load calculation tool for the person that's going out to design and sell the job.
That's correct.
Because we, as you know, as we all know, hopefully all our listeners know, we can't just show up with a heat pump or an air conditioning or any heating system and just slap it together and install it. We need to know what size it has to be. And that's by code. That's it's a law in most states, if not all. So a little bit more about the product itself. Tell us a little bit about that. What was your I guess your goal, your end goal for this when you started?
Yeah. So when we started, we wanted to build something that makes it extremely fast to get a really accurate load calculation done in the home. So a fully sort of fledged system where every single input was available to that comfort advisor or project manager. And we wanted, as we were looking at kind of what is this workflow, we saw that the biggest step or one of the biggest steps is just gathering the dimensions of the home. That's such time consuming manual work. So we actually investigated a bunch of different technologies and we landed on LiDAR scanners. So this is an iPad Pro application. It enables a HVAC professional to walk into the home, use their iPad Pro to actually scan over the space. So we're using almost like a little laser tape measure inside the iPad to map out all of the walls, windows, doors, ceilings, and floors. And in less than 10 minutes on site, we can actually get to a full room by room ACA certified load using that. And that's because we take all of that work of mapping out the home, and it's as simple as doing that in your walkthrough. So you go into a room with the homeowner, you can scan the space. It's a 30-second process, and then you move on to the next room.
Well, back in the day, it was me walking into the home and with a tape measure, piece of paper, and a pencil to make notes. And you're talking about at least a good hour and a half to measure each room individually.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a very time-intensive process and so critical to getting the sizing, the comfort, the efficiency of that system right.
Well, what a long way we've come, because in addition to the hour and a half of taking the measurements, the first load calculations I ever did were on paper.
On paper.
There was no software at the time.
It was brutal.
It was brutal. It was brutal because you'd make one mistake and it's like, what?
Yes.
It reminded me of doing taxes, the long form.
And you better be using a pencil instead of a pen.
Yeah. So what a long way that we've come. So 10 minutes and I'm going to get an ACA certified load calculation. Wow.
Now, is there any manual input that's required? Like, I know sometimes you have to factor in installation ratings and the windows and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we do ask a number of questions. We try to keep that to just the most important questions, right? Because if you're doing a load calculation, there can be hundreds of different inputs. But what we've done is we've built a feature that enables a contractor to really hone in on kind of what are the 7 or 8 most important questions for this load calculation for this space. So we start off asking you, where is the home based? What's the age of the home? If it's been weatherized, we ask you to update the age of the home. And then from there, we identify what do we really need to know that you can also visually identify in the home. Because you can't necessarily look at the wall and see what the insulation is. But we do ask you for a couple of other cues. And that enables us to basically set up the defaults for the job. So it lands you into this job where you've given us the most critical inputs. Now we ask you to scan the space. And if you wanted to, you could be done at that point. You could be done with your ACA certified load. We do enable you to go back in and tweak anything. So you see the output of the load, and then you can go back in and change the infiltration level or change even down to the blower heat gain, whatever it is. You can go back in and change those inputs.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to do a room-by-room load, but is this program capable of doing a block load as well?
It is capable of doing a block load and zoned loads. So in particular, we wanted, I guess the kind of unifying philosophy here was this is such important work. It's also such time-consuming and hard work, particularly when it's done using more traditional tools. Let's make it simple so it can be done in front of the homeowner, down to the level of this is the system that's going to go into their home. This is where it's going to go in their space. And that process is really, when we talk about sales enablement, what we're really talking about is homeowner engagement. So getting them involved, really showing them how technical and how both complex, but then also accurate your work is to show sort of the care that you're taking of their space.
And that is something great because, in the contracting world, you have got to differentiate yourself because everybody can do cooling, everybody can do heating, everybody can do comfort cooling, blah, blah, blah. But you need to be different than your competition or else you won't be any different at all.
Right,
and
absolutely.
This sounds like it's something that you could differentiate yourself by.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about that. I just mentioned originally it was all done on paper. You measure the room, it was hours. And then we had a laptop, we had some software. Even then, you're still going in, you're measuring the space, and then you're going back to do that somewhere else because you don't want to do that in front of the customer.
Right.
Because I don't know about you, but for me, I didn't do a whole lot of them, but I'd have to spend an hour or two trying to get this done. You don't want to sit there for an hour or two in front of the customer. But now I'm doing this with the customer, and it's going to take 10 minutes. I'm going through the house. I'm not using a tape measure. I'm doing it quickly. And if the first guy that came on just measured everything and said, all right, I'll get back with you. But now I'm right there. I have my load calculations done within 10 minutes. And you're saying I can even show them what the equipment's going to look like using my iPad? And
you can. Yeah. So basically, one of the things that we saw in so many of the ride-alongs that we were on was that aesthetics matters so much to the homeowner, which as somebody who is not a homeowner, has never been a homeowner in my life, I wouldn't have expected that, but it does make sense. And so, one of the features that we've built is the ability to project an augmented reality version of that mini split or of that outdoor condenser unit. So the homeowner can understand, okay, what are you putting in my space? How big is it going to be in 3D space? How much of my room or my backyard or wherever it is, my outdoor wall, how much of this is going to take up, is going to be taken up by HVAC equipment. And then you can snap a photo, include that in your final report to the homeowner.
In that final report, I could give them right then and there.
You could give that to them right then and there. Yeah. And you could, toggle on or off your loads depending on what you actually want to share, how much detail you actually want to share. When we were thinking about designing that homeowner report, we wanted it to really mirror a lot of what we heard from salespeople in the field, which is that you have to think of this as arrows in your quiver. So some homeowners are going to want some things, some homeowners are going to want other things. Yep. And you identify through that homeowner's body language, through the conversation with them, what information do I need to share to convert this homeowner? And so that's really how we designed our final reports as well, is let's just give you arrows in your quiver, a really high quality set of just a few arrows, and you can decide what do you want to include.
And the more arrows in your quiver, the better off you are.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And what I like about this so far is I'm thinking of this from the homeowner's perspective. I got one guy coming in the room and I used to feel bad when I have to go measuring rooms, and especially if it's just one homeowner there and not both, Here I am moving things around, trying to get this measurement and that measurement. And if that were me, if I were the homeowner, I'd be like, this is so aggravating. I'm just waiting for this guy. But now all that is done. It's just one less thing. As a contractor, one less thing I have to worry about, because now it's just going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to be as intrusive or as invasive. It's, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's going to be just an easier, more subtle approach to it. So what kind of feedback are you getting from the contractors that are using this? And have you gotten feedback from homeowners even who may have experienced this?
We have, yes. So I would say that as a team at Conduit, the most important resource for us are the thoughts of our customers or our prospective customers. So we spend a lot of time digging into the feedback that we receive from the field, and really as much time as our customers are willing to give us. We know they're very busy people. We will listen to their thoughts endlessly if they're willing to give them to us. And so thus far, we've actually heard really positive feedback. Of course, there are areas of the tool that we need to improve, and we also hear that and pay very close attention to that as well. But the overarching feedback on why people are using the tool, when we see people picking it up, using it on every job that they're doing in the field, it's because of the sales conversion impact. Right. So it enables them to connect with a homeowner, to communicate what they're trying to sell, to get a really complicated or large or, even off-the-shelf job sold to that homeowner. That really, I think, is the number one reason why people are using Conduit or why they're loving it. Of course, there is also the feedback that it helps people get permits submitted faster. It helps people get to a place where any of the documentation that you might want to attach to a job for a legal reason can be done a little bit faster using Conduit. That's also there. But the number one thing I would say is, hey, this helped me sell this job. Or in my first week of using this, I was able to sell $100,000 job. We've heard that a couple of times, which is kind of wild when you think about it. But that's the number one, I think, thing that we see people loving Conduit about. The one thing that we really do focus on as a team is anytime somebody tells us, hey, that thing was hard to use, or this workflow within Conduit is a little bit difficult. We do hear that. That is something to be totally transparent. We are a 2-year-old company. We are working on this. But I would say that the frequency by which we hear that has gone down so dramatically because we have spent as a team a lot of time to focus on the usability of this application. We absolutely know that we're building this for professionals in the field, and that it has to be simple. It has to be usable in front of a homeowner. That's a really interesting design problem, that you're building it for a user, but then the homeowner is looking over their shoulder. And so I think that it's going to continue to be a focus area for our team, and something that we take a lot of pride in is making a highly usable, simple to learn tool. And we'll continue to get more and more farther and farther down that path. Yeah. And then from the homeowner's perspective, the funny thing is actually we start to get some calls to our support line from homeowners asking us, hey, which contractors in my area are using Conduit?
There you go.
I think that's the funniest.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So people are finding us. They're finding our marketing materials. I think often it's homeowners who are researching heat pumps are finding us and interested in, I really want this job to be done well. Which contractor is going to come in and do a manual J? And I think that increasing homeowner awareness is a very powerful, somewhat challenging trend in the world of HVAC that we observe. We're not HVAC professionals, but we hear this from our customers that homeowners are asking a lot more questions. They're doing a lot more research into what technically needs to be done on every job. And I think that that's just another kind of tailwind as to why we see some of our customers going really deep on using Conduit on every job, because they know I'm talking to highly educated customers who are going to buy 1 or 2 HVAC systems in their lives, and they've done a lot of research. They have the whole breadth of the internet to support them on how to do this well. So those homeowners are really, really asking difficult questions. And one of the things that a contractor can do to accommodate those questions is show them something like Conduit.
Yep.
Beautiful. Now, you did mention simple to use, and again, I'm thinking back to the old days when we graduated to laptops. I've been to school for some load calculation software, and I'd go to school for a week and still not understand all of it, and then another week to learn another part of it. So, what's the learning curve like on this for a contractor? They go out and get an iPad Pro. And then from there, then what? I get Conduit, I call you up, and is there a class I have to take? Is there a certification? How do I go?
Yeah, these are great questions. So you book a demo on our website, www.getconduit.com. And then from there, we would, actually ink out the contract, make sure that you have your iPad set up with an account. From there, we do ask everybody to go through at least 1 hour onboarding. Our team is here to support you. That's one of the most important functions of our team, is supporting our customers, making sure that they understand how to use the tool. But we do ask that first hour onboarding practices a couple of things. So the number one thing that we practice then is actually how to scan. It looks very simple. It is very simple, actually, but there are a couple of things that you need to know about, how to position yourself in the room, how to move the iPad over the walls to make sure that you're hitting all the corners in that room, how to get a high quality scan. And then we also practice the ability to manipulate the 3D model. So if something is missing from the model, you can add that back in using Conduit. If you couldn't go into that room, you can add that back in using Conduit. So we talk about those just skills, frankly, of manipulating the 3D model in our program. And then from there, we cover a little bit about what are all of the load calc inputs and how do you change those in Conduit. We offer a second onboarding if anybody wants that. We find that about half of our customers take us up on that. We always want, if anybody has any questions, we certainly encourage them to schedule more training with us. And then from there, we ask, please do a load calc in your own home or apartment or condo, whatever it is. Get a couple of reps under your belt. And then after that, you're ready to use this in the field. And we do see that when people go through that process, they go through at least 1 onboarding, they practice it at least 2 or 3 times in their own space. They're ready to go. They're ready to use this in the field.
That sounds pretty easy.
Yeah, I don't do load calcs anymore, but this makes me want to go out and get an iPad Pro just to play with it, because I actually saw one person using it, and that's what led me to contact you, is because I go, what is this?
Oh, fantastic!
It was Chris Morin, who I think he's been on our show at least once, maybe twice, but he was just like, "Oh, Chris, what is this?" And he told me all about it, and that prompted my call to you.
So does the program handle manual D as well as manual S, I believe it is?
We don't handle manual S and manual D right now.
Okay.
It's certainly something that we're looking into as a team. How can we better support there? Because we know those are absolutely critical. What we do for manual D is that we break out, we ask for the inputs of what's the blower CFM setting for your heating system, for your cooling system. And then we'll actually break out room by room what are the CFM requirements of those spaces. So that supports in the manual D process, but we don't take it all the way to the end of then laying out the ductwork. Okay. And then on manual S, we're actually always looking to make connections with manufacturers to get performance data, extended performance data in the tool. That is something that we're absolutely looking into, but we currently don't integrate with any manufacturer data. Would love to talk to you, the Mitsubishi team, about that later.
Yeah, we'll get you hooked up.
I
with
think
the
one of the it's not us.
That's not us.
I think one of the cool things, and you'd mentioned it, is like sales conversion. Because when it comes to doing the manual J or load calculation, it's something that has to be done. And the less time that it takes in a homeowner's space doing things like tasks as opposed to actually working on satisfying their goals and what they want is great. I mean, most of the time in sales, they really want to build the interpersonal connection and be able to meet their needs and figure out how they can meet the needs. If they're spending an hour and a half with a ruler or tape measure throughout the house, you are limiting the amount of time you can actually make that connection. So that part alone, I think, is one of the biggest benefits is you can do these things while you're having the conversation. You get quality scans. It takes less time. So the time that you're in the house in front of the customer or potential customer, it can be spent doing what you need to do as a salesperson.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting efficiency in the areas that you can get efficiency. So then you can spend more of your time really leaning into what's the body language of this homeowner?
Right.
What are they asking for in their space? What are their comfort concerns? I totally agree. And I think that one of the things that we've seen some of our customers do is even within the process of using Conduit, finding ways to engage the homeowner. So asking the homeowner, like, I'm doing this really cool scanning thing. I'm going to build a 3D model of your space to see where the heat is coming in and out. Let's do this together. We often see some of our customers handing their iPads to homeowners and saying, like, you've seen me scan those 3 rooms, scan this other room, and we can do this together. Or if their kid is in the room, handing the iPad to the kid and saying, hey, let's scan this room together. So I do think that there's opportunities for engagement even when doing the load calculation, but you're absolutely right that being able to get it done and then move on to, all right, now we sit down at the kitchen table and we have more time to talk absolutely makes sense.
And that's great. To Brent's point, I mean, when I was in business and I scheduled my appointments, I used to ask for a 2-hour window. I mean, who has 2 hours nowadays? It's impossible. So by cutting time, because it was the first hour was measuring calculations and all that. The second hour was the interaction with the homeowner and trying to close the sale on the first call. But it's time consuming.
Absolutely.
So this sounds like it's going to shorten that time gap, making it more usable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that as we were first doing our ride-alongs to really understand the job of the HVAC salesperson, one of the things that just struck both Shelby and myself, my co-founder and myself, was that there's so much work that has to be done before the sales conversation, before you can even close that sale. So how can we get all of that work down to, as little time as possible, down to as effortless a workflow as possible? We still have work to do to make it completely effortless, but that's where we're trying to go. That's our vision for what we want to build in the future.
Great.
I want to go back to something you said about using augmented reality to show me a 3D model, if I understood correctly, of what the equipment. Let's just talk about a mini split. But what kind of data are you putting in there? Do I have to select the manufacturers I'm using? When I was in the field, it was either Trane or Mitsubishi. That's do you need that up front, or do you just have a library of all equipment in there?
We have a library. It doesn't show all equipment. So right now we have kind of a generic set of equipment. So you could show this is roughly what this is going to look like. We do have a couple of manufacturers examples in there. We actually don't have any Mitsubishi. So again, would love to have that conversation. But we started off with a sort of limited subset to see, is this useful to our users? We see absolutely in the usage data and absolutely in the feedback back to us, it is useful. So that's a sign for our development team. Okay, let's invest more in this particular feature. And that is something that we've had a lot of requests for of, I want to show this mini split, these exact dimensions. We're working on making sure that the library gets bigger and bigger.
What some companies do is they link into the AHRI database, and that's how they're able to get the equipment model numbers and size and all that.
Yeah.
So you may want to look into that about linking with AHRI, and it may just be a matter of linking, and that way you don't have to make it part of the program, but you can link through it.
That's a great point. Yeah, we've looked into AHRI a little bit, but haven't gone super deep on it, mainly because we couldn't use it for Manual S. But there's absolutely, to your point, lots of other reasons to consider integrating. Yeah.
All right. So I'm sold.
Awesome.
Right? But let's talk to that contractor who's out there, who's in the truck right now. He's listening to us. This industry is ever changing, and there are a lot of trends that are going to affect how we do business. But speak to that contractor out there who may be thinking, okay, this sounds good, but I don't know. Why would it be worthwhile for them to consider getting Conduit?
Yeah, I would say, to that contractor, what do you care about? Do you care about your time? We can help you save time. Do you care about making more money? We can help you make more money. Do you care about, limiting pull-offs and callbacks? We can help you do that. We can help protect your brand's reputation. And so there's a lot of different, I think, avenues through which people can grow their businesses. I'd really want to understand, how are you trying to grow your business, or how are you trying to protect your time? This is a tool. It's just one of many tools that could help you get there.
All right, good.
Awesome.
This is actually making me feel like it would even be helpful on the service side of things. Have you ever been to a house like on a service call and it's a relatively new piece of equipment and it doesn't keep up?
Right.
Like, it'd be a pretty quick way to tell, like, your sizing is way off. You know what I mean? You'd be like, it's an installation error, not necessarily equipment.
That's a very good point. Is it sized properly to begin
Right.
with?
You can do, if it's that quick, you know what I mean? You can get a quality load calculation on the space and then compare that against what's actually been installed and go, my hands are kind of tied. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
Because it happens all the time.
Yeah, between this and DSB, it'd be great. And the sad fact is, there are still many contractors that don't do load calcs. They just take a guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only is that against code, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Pretty much every company where I serviced, it was just kind of like, oh, you want 3 heads? Sure, here's 3 heads.
And to your point regarding on the service side, a black load, okay, I used to do that right off the bat. And then, because that would tell me if the existing system was properly sized. Now, through the questioning process on the consumer about comfort level from one end to the other, then I'm actually asking questions regarding the duct system. Now, do I need to do a room-by-room load?
Yeah. And, we have a lot of customers who tell us, I don't do loads. Actually, a big portion of our customer base was not doing loads before they started using Conduit, which I find really, really cool. And they'll tell us, we have this guy in our office. He's been doing he's been doing system design for 20 years. He can walk into a space. He can look at a couple of data points about the space, and he knows the system size that should go into that space. And that definitely could be the case. But my question then is, well, how do you prove that to the homeowner?
Exactly.
Does the homeowner believe in that? And that's at the end of the day, I think, a big question to contend with. Or if it's, maybe not system sizing, but maybe it's the ductwork. Does that home need a duct modification, or does that room need another register? What does it need? How do you prove that to the homeowner to make sure that they understand and they can invest in that as well? That's a really big question. I think that's a lot of the reasons why we see even those firms where there is a really strong on-site expert, somebody who becomes a power user of Conduit because they've been doing system design for many, many, many years. They can pick it up right away. They know exactly what every single piece of vocabulary means, but it comes down to being able to prove that to the homeowner and then have a backup kind of system of record for, why did we do what we did to your space? This is what we were working off of. And I think that having a document that enables you to set very clear expectations with a homeowner is a great way to ultimately align with the homeowner on what should go into their space. But then also, if they come back and they're saying, this room isn't comfortable, well, hey, you didn't want a duct modification. This was really clear. I think that that's just another reason why doing something like this is a great way to grow your business and protect your business.
Right. Now, the program also, besides the scanning and the measuring and all that, are you capable of hand drawing the rooms or the design or the structure?
That's a great question. Right now, we aren't. So
Okay.
we do not do any kind of floor plan uploads.
Okay.
We just do scans of existing structures.
Okay.
So that is something that we are also thinking about. We do have a lot of requests for that. Our team actually has this really, really, really long document. We call it the voice of the contractor document. And it's every single piece of feedback that we've ever received. So I'm actually going to log that and log some of the ideas that have come up today in the voice of the contractor. But it's not something that we build right now.
Okay.
Okay, Marisa, all this sounds really cool. I'm actually looking forward to using this someday. I am going to get an iPad Pro, but I want to go to the next step. How do we get in touch with you so we can get some pricing on this?
Yeah. So the easiest way to get in touch with us is to go to our website and book a demo there. That's www.getconduit.com. And we've got a great sales team. We've got a great support team. If you have any questions, they can answer all of your questions. They can do a demo for you. We actually also, if you have an iPad Pro, we can let you play around with the software a little bit and we'll walk you through it. But then, yeah, really that's the best way to get in touch with us.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. I think you're the only one we introduced at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, we didn't even introduce the show.
We didn't introduce the show
You
or
were on a
anybody
roll.
else.
We
So-
could pause and then do the introduction.
It's too late now.
No, it's
We're
too
in.
late.
We're committed.
No, we're committed. We're done. Well, listen,
Everyone knows who you are. It's
yeah,
okay.
everyone knows.
They had to find us somehow. So they didn't know the name of the show.
I'm sorry, Marisa, but we didn't get your last name. So just tell us your name again, who you are, and what you do and who you work with. Just we'll put this at the end. And
Absolutely. I'm Marisa Reddy. I'm one of the co-founders of Conduit. And yeah, I work with the incredible Conduit Tech team building load calculation and sales enablement software.
all right. And for us, we're just the METUS Tech Show. Thank you for joining us on the
Same
METUS Tech
goons
Show.
as always.
People know who we are. If they
Same
don't,
guys.
they don't really care. Yeah. So, thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Great.
So I
Great
do
to
have a
learn about
question.
you.
Yeah.
Because you like pizza so much.
Yeah.
Do you watch like Dave Portnoy's one
I
bite
do
pizza?
watch
Yeah.
Dave Portnoy's. It's just a satisfying show to watch.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's one of those weird human things. It's satisfying to watch somebody take a huge bite of pizza.
He just had a big event in New York City last weekend.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
I didn't know
I
about
forget
it.
the name of the island. It's between Manhattan and I want to say the Bronx. It's I forget the name of the island, but he had like 5,000 or 6,000 people show up to
wow.
taste
No
all kinds of
way.
pizzas. Yeah, Michelle went there. She was telling us, our admin here.
Oh, how cool.
She went there, and it's like all these people had pizza. But then there's the place that he rated the best pizza was in the VIP section. You had to pay more money to go to that, but, so you couldn't get that. But that'd be a good thing to do because I'm telling you, I can put away some pizza if I put my mind to
I
it.
wish I had known.
Yeah,
Funny, I was actually going to mention at the beginning, but I let it slide. So we went to Chicago not too long ago, and they swore up and down, you have to try
The deep
Lou
dish.
Malnati's deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's great. So we all got personal pizzas. I had half of it. And I
Yeah.
was just like, I don't know. It's
Really?
pizza. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's good, but
Yeah.
wasn't rocking my world.
And who ate the other half?
Paul ate the other half.
No
So we had all of his and the other half of
Listen,
mine.
every pizza is a personal pizza if you're committed. Thanks again.
That's good.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you.